AITA. Am I the a-hole for evicting a tenant because they got pregnant? Yes, I know the title sounds awful, but please do hear me out before making a judgment. I will accept whatever judgment I'm given. I purchased a 3-bedroom condo in Toronto, Canada 5 years ago when I was in my second year of medical residency. Soon after the purchase, I rented one of the rooms to my roommate to offset the costs of the mortgage. I live in one room, she lives in the second, and the third is my study/office. She has been a great roommate from the beginning. We aren't necessarily friends, as in we don't do things together for fun, but we get along exceptionally well. The entire roommate/tenant relationship has gone swimmingly up until recently. A couple of weeks ago, my roommate broke the news to me that she is pregnant. The father was a fling of hers, who does not want anything to do with the child. My roommate has decided she wants to keep the child anyways, and raise it on her own. To me that seems like a huge challenge, and I admire her for it. The issue is, while I don't necessarily dislike children, I have no desire to live with a baby. While the condo is a fair size, I will most definitely be woken up by the babies crying at night. My condo is also where I like to come home to and relax, like a haven after a long work day, and the idea of coming home to a baby honestly seems absolutely chaotic. Especially since this isn't my own child, i.e. one that my girlfriend and I decided to have / was mentally prepared for. As difficult as it was for me to do this, I told her essentially what I've written here, and that it would be best if she finds somewhere else to live. I am not rushing her out or anything like that. I have given her 6 months notice, since any later than that will come too close to the birth. She was honestly quite taken aback by this, and thought that I was being cruel. Her primary concern is that, rent has gone up substantially in the city since she signed on with me. I haven't increased her rent since she moved in, so she's essentially paying 2015 rent. She works as a waitress, and will likely need to find a lesser apartment to keep within the same budget. A couple of other considerations are that she was out of work while restaurants were closed, but I did waive her rent for that period. All of the furniture is also mine, aside from her bedroom, so she would need to figure something out on that front as well, aside from all of the child expenses. I understand her position, and I feel horrible about the situation, but I honestly can't do it. AITA? Am I the a-hole for this? NTA. Not the a-hole. It's your home. You are allowed to live with who you want to. She's an adult. She has 6 months to figure out a new living arrangement. Edit. Since some people were wondering why I said NTA instead of another judgment. OP has been nothing but generous and compassionate over this situation. They have even edited their post to offer their roommate additional support and kindness. But what gets me is that the roommate has called OP cruel and acting put out. OP doesn't deserve to be treated like that. It's not cruel to not want to live with a newborn, especially one that is not yours. It's a reasonable boundary to have when you are sharing space. Where else should OP draw the line? Roommate has had a pretty sweet deal. No raise in rent. Payments waived when they were in financial crisis. A generous timeline for moving. And with OPS edit, no rent in order to save money for moving out and tapping into OPS network for additional help in finding a new home. Roommate thinks all that isn't enough, otherwise she wouldn't have accused OP of being cruel. And that makes her the a-hole in my book. NAH. No a-holes here. Neither one is an a-hole. OP leased her room to a single person as originally intended. And now the tenant is going to bring in another human being, who will cry incessantly and require a lot of attention. It is a tough situation, but OP didn't sign for to be a backup mama. NAH. It will always seem counterintuitive to not call someone the a-hole for evicting someone when they're pregnant. However, you're not exactly throwing her out on the street to give birth in the gutter. You've been more than generous throughout her tenure by the sounds of it, and you've given her plenty of warning to move out. Her circumstances are changing through her own choices, and that will impact negatively on you. She may have hoped you'd be okay with it, but she should never have assumed. AITA. Not the a-hole. There is no money or friendship in the world that would make me live with another baby. I've had two, and only stayed with them because they were mine. They suck. NaH. No a-holes here. It's your property and you can do with it as you like, within reason. You are living in the same building and don't want to be disturbed by a newborn. 6 months is a huge period of time to find a new place to live. NaH. This is an unfortunate situation for all, but your reasons are valid and so are her worries. You mention you waived her rent when restaurants were closed, and in a comment said that you can afford the place without a tenant. Could you perhaps decrease the rent for the final 6 months, to give her some extra opportunity to save? This is obviously not necessary to do, but might be something nice to do to help her out if it doesn't put you out too much. If she's not super attached to her current employer, rent is way cheaper in Hamilton. I know because I live in Hamilton but grew up in the GTA. There are tons of restaurants downtown, we have a great food scene, so I'm sure she could get a job here fairly easily. And her rent is more likely to match the value of the space she's living in than it would in Toronto. I live downtown, just a 5-minute walk from the GO station, and it actually takes me less time to get to Union from Hamilton than it did from my parents' place in our Hill. I hope she's able to find a good place soon. If Hamilton is something that might work for her, message me, and I don't mind helping her look for a place here. I really don't understand people. I'm pregnant. My baby daddy isn't around. I don't have a job. I don't have savings. But I'll have this kid anyway cause babies. Edit. Sarcasm tag added cause people were confused. NTA. Not the a-hole. 6 months is generous. NaH. It's your home, and you have the right, morally and legally, to decide whether or not you want to live with a baby. At the same time, she is not the a-hole for deciding to have a baby. At worst, it was naive of her to take it for granted that she would be able to bring a baby into the household. NTA. You didn't sign up to live with kids. Kids aren't my thing. I got surgery to ensure it won't ever be my problem. I absolutely wouldn't be a part of that. Put your 6-month notice in writing. Consult a lawyer. Ensure future roommates have a no children clause in a contract. I love when people decide to keep the baby but they don't have saving, regular payment, secure home, or anything else except their own skin. NTA. Please be aware, in telling her you want her to move out because she is pregnant, you might be breaking the law. NTA. Her entitlement probably came from a place of desperation, so it's a mild a-hole for her. She obviously should have given your needs more thought. Mainly, I just wanted to say you're very kind-hearted. With your edit in mind, it seems she would have lived rent-free for nearly a year. That's ample time to have hopefully made some savings and get ahead. Not an opportunity many people get. NTA. It's a very unfortunate situation for your roommate and I feel for her, but she shouldn't have approached this assuming that she would be able to stay as a tenant. You have been extremely generous with subsidizing her rent while she was struggling financially, and you have given her plenty of notice to find somewhere else. NaH. 6 months is a generous notice. I understand she's in a tough situation, but did she expect to live there forever? It's already been 5 years. I know you feel bad, so maybe try to help her in other ways, just not by letting her live there. You're a doctor. You need your sleep. You've been more than reasonable. NTA. People like you are appreciated during this crisis. Keep doing what you do. What the frock is wrong with all these people having kids they absolutely cannot afford? How frocking nuts is that? The only people I know that are having kids all have decent income. Raising a kid as a single parent, with a single income of a kinda low-paying job is a shite prospect. What's the line of thinking that leads to yep, keeping it?